in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 11, in the King James Version. The word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Hear ye the words of this covenant, and speak unto the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and say thou unto them, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Cursed be the man that obeyeth not the words of this covenant, which I commanded your fathers in the day that I brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, from the iron furnace, saying, Obey my voice, and do them, according to all which I command you. So shall ye be my people, and I will be your God, that I may perform the oath which I have sworn unto your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is this day. Then answered I, and said, So be it, O Lord. Then the Lord said unto me, Proclaim all these words to the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem, saying, Hear ye the words of this covenant, and do them. For I earnestly protested unto your fathers in the day that I brought them up out of the land of Egypt, even unto this day, rising early and protesting, saying, Obey my voice. Yet they obeyed not, nor inclined their ear, but walked every one in the imagination of their evil heart. Therefore I will bring upon them all the words of this covenant, which I commanded them to do, but they did them not. And the Lord said unto me, A conspiracy is found among the men of Judah, and among the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They are turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers, which refused to hear my words, and they went after other gods to serve them. The house of Israel and the house of Judah have broken my covenant, which I made with their fathers. Therefore thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will bring evil upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry unto me, I will not hearken unto them. Then shall the cities of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem go and cry unto the gods unto whom they offer incense, but they shall not save them at all in the time of their trouble. For according to the number of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah, and according to the number of the streets of Jerusalem have ye set up altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense unto Baal. Therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry or prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry unto me for their trouble. What hath my beloved to do in mine house, seeing she hath wrought lewdness with many, and the holy flesh is passed from thee? When thou doest evil, then thou rejoicest. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult he hath kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. For the Lord of hosts, that planted thee, hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves, to provoke me to anger, in offering incense unto Baal. And the Lord hath given me knowledge of it, and I know it. Then thou shewedst me their doings. But I was like a lamb or an ox that is brought to the slaughter, and I knew not that they had devices against me, saying, Let us destroy the tree with the fruit thereof, and let us cut him off from the land of the living, that his name may be no more remembered. But, O Lord of hosts, that judgest righteously, that triest the reins in the heart, let me see thy vengeance on them, for unto thee have I revealed my cause. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of the men of Anathoth, that seek thy life, saying, Prophesy not in the name of the Lord, that thou die not by our hand. Therefore thus saith the Lord of hosts, Behold, I will punish them. The young men shall die by the sword, their sons and their daughters shall die by famine, and there shall be no remnant of them, for I will bring evil upon the men of Anathoth, even the year of their visitation. Okay. There's a lot here, sermon upon sermon. A brief note, though, there was something that was talked about in the previous Bible study, and I had mentioned it, and then I didn't necessarily go back to it because of the reason why it could come up in what would be considered notes to other books. In particular, where I talked about the spark coming in, where we go through other potential books, such as the books from the Apocrypha, as well as the books that were originally part of the Bible. And they mention certain items that relate back and forth to some entries within the Bible, within Jeremiah, within Isaiah. And so those entries, though, could be noted and would come up again when we would talk about and talk during those other books. However, again, that wouldn't be considered part of this Bible study, Land Bible study. That would just be additional studies under the playlist of Spark. And so, but that is when it comes to some of what it was talking about in chapter 9 and in chapter 10. And 10 verse 10 is one of them. But the Lord is the true God. He is the living God and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble and the nations shall not be able to abide in his indignation. And how that mentions time and time again, because of there's also a verse about how we war not against certain things, but against the unseen, the things of the flesh. That we war against the powers and and I'm getting this completely off right now. There's a verse that we'll go over when we get to the New Testament in particular, that relates to some of the other additional books that expound upon those. So that was just a quick note that I wanted to go back to. But in this Bible study, so getting to our points here in chapter 11, there's several. In verse 11, for according to the number of thy cities were thy gods, O Judah, and according to the number of the streets of Jerusalem have ye set up altars to that shameful thing, even altars to burn incense unto Baal. So not only were Israel and Judah worshiping other gods, and this is Jeremiah, so this is time of Israel has been already exiled to Assyria, and now Judah's getting ready to be exiled to Babylon. And so he's telling them that they're still, even though they've been told time and time again by prophets, by men of God, by people of God saying, this is not correct. We are to worship God. And he gave us an outline of how to worship him and who to turn to. Instead, we're repeating a pattern. We're doing something and expecting a different result. And they're not only that, but they're setting up more and more images. They're setting up more and more gods. They're relying on more and more things. And they're setting them up in places wherever. Whatever looks good. Whatever works. Whatever's convenient. Including even in the place of worship, including in the temple of the Lord, where he placed his name. Any of this start to sound familiar, like places of convenience, and things of turning to things out of convenience, out of, just wanting just to have a quick result and be done and over with? Yeah, bringing past to present. There's a lot here. There's a lot to be said in these verses. And so much so that it continues on to verse 14. Therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry or a prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry unto me for their trouble. Because even then, they weren't really crying out to God. They were just crying out to whatever. They were crying out to whatever they thought would answer them. It sounded like they didn't really have a God. They didn't believe. They thought they were. They thought they were following all these type of religious aspects. They were doing the sacrifices or paying not to do the sacrifice, or paying off the priests not to do the sacrifice, or to do the sacrifice for them, or paying off the priests just because so they can get away with something. They weren't really seeking the Lord at all. They were seeking convenience. Interesting. Bringing past to present, do we seek convenience? I mean, yeah, people, I'm a sinner. I know that time and time again, I have sought convenience, and where those conveniences lie comes the disaster. Every single time. Firsthand experience, I'm telling you. I'm not one to say, oh, I have not tried to do something out of convenience. Absolutely not. And when it's not focused on the Lord, when it's focused purely on self-satisfaction, it's a complete disaster every single time. There are no times where it has not been a complete disaster. And yet, every now and then, I find myself in my own entrapment. I find myself in my own way of thinking like, oh, this will work. This will work for me. Instead of relying on the Lord, instead of doing what I need to do in order to move on, in order to have a place of being heard, in order to have that healing, in order to have that accomplishment, in order to move forward in life, in order to move down the path with my walk with the Lord. And so are we like that? Do we see conveniences? I can see that every day. I can see that even in our spiritual walk. We do not like to stress. I mean, if Christ walked here right now and we had to go through that whole crucifixion sequence again, when you looked at the distance and when you looked at the beating and everything that was happening, would you be, or would you be like devastated? Like, why are these people? Would you be more reactionary towards the situation, or would you actually want to pick up the Lord's cross? Jesus already said, pick up your cross and follow me. Do what I'm going to do. But he already knew that we, in our humanistic thoughts and feelings, we cannot live up to the law. He was the only one that could do it. So therefore, we have that example. We have the example through him in his life. And we have these words from Jeremiah showing us a reflection, saying, look, are you doing these things out of convenience? Are you doing these things because they are not representative of me? They are not from me. They are not of me. They are not about me. I am the truth and the life. He is telling us to come to him, not to our own thoughts and feelings, not to what is convenient for us. Sometimes we have to go down that hard path. There's another point in here, but before we get to it, what kind of thoughts or feelings come to your mind when you read over this? How does it make you feel and what does it make you think?